Good morning, Kahal Kadosh. Shavua Tov Mevorach. Beruchim Habayim to everybody. Today, Monday, the 15th day of Mar Heshvan, corresponding to the 30th day of October. Today's class, we have a few sponsors, so please bear with me. For this entire week, by Sarita Warman and Raquel Alfasi, Le'ilu Nishmat, their beloved mother, Rebecca Bat Sarina Aleha Shalom. Additionally, by Nathan Yadgar and family, Le'ilu Nishmat, his grandmother, Evelyn Bat Yaakov Aleha Shalom. Additionally, for the Refuah Shelema of Mordechai Ben Jemile, that as we speak is going through a kidney transplant, as well as the Refuah Shelema of Moshe Shaul Ben Zakieh, among all of the Holim of Am Israel. And special dedication today by Mr. Charles Gamal and family. Today, Monday, in honor of the Rabbi, Hazaku Baruch Tiyeh. Thank you, Mr. Jamal, for your generosity and kindness. And obviously, we dedicate our Torah learning and our prayers to the well-being of our brethren in Eretz Israel, for the hostages to be returned safely to their families, to the soldiers to be protected, for the wounded to have refuah shelema, and Be'ezat Hashem, the world is in such a convulsive type of scenario that I believe that if Mashiach was close to us a week ago, with yesterday's event worldwide, I think we're getting closer and closer and closer. So I'm sure that we have questions, we don't have answers, but we're going to utilize one of the best weapons that we have in our life as Yehudim, the concept of Torah, Tefillah, Avodah, Gemilut Hasadim, and Tzedakah. Nothing is coincidence, but we do believe in a concept called Hashgacha Peratit, divine providence. Today's Gemara discusses a mitzvah that has the power to install the fear on the enemies of Am Israel. Now, we already mentioned last week that a pasuk from Shlomo HaMelech that says the following. Shlomo HaMelech writes, and it says, Utzu etza v'tufar, davru davar velo yakum, ki imanu el. In English it means, Utzu etza v'tufar, the enemy nations will plot against the Jewish people, and it will be denied. Davru davar, they will verbalize threats against Am Israel, belo yakum, and will not become a reality. Ki imanu el, because the Almighty is with us. So the Gemara also mentions about the concept of the Misvah of Tefilin. The Gemara brings a pasuk that says, Bera'u kol amei ha'aretz, and all the nations of the world will see, Ki Shem Hashem nikra alecha, that the name of the Almighty is upon you, Ve'yare'u mimeka, and they will be afraid of you. The Gemara writes, Amal Rabbi Eliezer Gadol, Elu tefillin shebarosh. This refers to the tefillin on the head, because the tefillin of the hand, it's usually hidden. You have the sleeve, you have the talet, it's not really visible because it points your heart. But the tefillin on the head that we all wear every day, and we wore today, Baruch Hashem, it's the crown of Am Israel. That is the reason why on the day of Tisha V'Av, in the afternoon of Tisha V'Av, we say a prayer that says, Lasum la'avele Sion efer tahat pe'er. Both words are written in the same way, with one huge difference. Efer is not afar, but like Abraham Avinu says, Vanochi afar ba'efer. Efer means dust, ashes. That's the lowest. So in the day of Tisha B'Av, we replace the ashes of the destruction of the Beit HaMikdash instead of the crown of the Tefillin. The Gemara writes that the invocation of Hashem's name in the Misvah of Tefilin installs the fear against the enemies. And no one can deny that one of the massive changes that are happening today in Israel, especially among the soldiers, may they all be protected and well, that many of them took upon themselves in a much more serious manner than in the past this mitzvah of putting on tefillin. And people are sponsoring tefilimot and sisiyot and candlelighting that you see the videos flowing around. Like, I heard a story yesterday that a mother said to a girl that happens to be a soldier, "No, did you find a shidduch?" So the daughter says, "Mom, it's very difficult because I was looking for a certain type of shidduch that I'm going to be able to find in the army. But now, since the war started, you don't know who is religious, who is not. Everybody now is religious in the army. They're putting on tefillin, they're putting on sisit, they're dancing on Shabbat, they're lighting candles, they're making kiddush. Yani, there is a spiritual revolution that is happening in Eretz Israel, and it's obviously it's a zechut for Am Israel that we have this it'orerut de teshuvah. So we hope and pray that this continues as a way of life." The Gemara brings down and discusses the Misvah of Tefillin. Amari B&I, Tefillin serichim guf naki. It says, rule number 1, when a person is going to put on Tefillin, the body must be clean. Not only externally, internally. The Pasuk writes, Bechol kerovai et shem kodsho. All my inner organs will praise the Almighty. And the lecha is, if a person has a need to use the restroom, first use the restroom, clear your body, and then pray. Why? Because tefillin contain a tremendous level of kedusha. Not only that, Abaye Amar, Shelo yafiach bahen. Abaye goes even another step, and it says not only that the body needs to be clean, but even sometimes when the human body, and I apologize in advance, releases gas, for example, it creates a foul smell. So according to Avaye, let your body clear and then pray. Goes further. Rabbah goes even a step further. Shelo yishan bahem. It says, all of the above, it is true, but there is one more requirement. You're not allowed to sleep with the tefillin. Now you may say, Rabbi, who is going to sleep with the tefillin? You want to look around who sleeps with the tefillin? Baruch Hashem, we don't really see this. But in the Gemara's time, people wore tefillin most of the day. Never in bed. Never in bed. Why? Because once the body is sleeping, the human being does not have control over their body. Like I mentioned on Shabbat. I quoted on Shabbat night, an interesting Devar Torah that we heard during the week by a great rabbi from Eretz Israel. I believe his name is Rabbi Baruch Rosenblum. I believe that is his name. A great Talmid Chacham. He speaks from the heart. He speaks with emotions. And he mentioned something very interesting. In our daily prayers, we speak about people that are in jail. Open the Birkot HaShachar. We say, for example, in the Hallelujah, Hashem matir asurim. God releases those that are held in captivity. In the Amidah, Somech Nofelim, Bikur Holim, umatir asurim. Supports the fallen, heals the sick, and releases those that are held in captivity. The first time of the day that we say Matir Asurim is actually in the Birkot HaShachar. In the morning blessings, there is a lineup of berachot. There used to be a time in history that the Birkot HaShachar were not said the way we are saying them now. Even today, in the Ashkenazic community, many synagogues have the custom that when the Hazan starts Tefillah, they begin with Birkot HaShachar. Okay, Sephardic is a bit different. What do? We get up, we get dressed, we do what we do, and we say the entire Birkot HaShachar. So the great rabbi said that when we say in the morning prayers, Baruch Atah Hashem Elokeinu Melech HaOlam, Matir Asurim, releases those that are held in captivity. And he explained that this beracha was established for the physical well-being of the human body as a whole. Why? Because when we are sleeping, as I said a few moments ago, we don't have control of our body. The body functions, Baruch Hashem, but yet we continue sleeping unless the person needs to use the restroom, unless the person is coughing or is very thirsty, etc. So when we wake up in the morning, it says that when we are saying to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Matir Asurim, not only we are saying to Hashem, thank you for restoring life to my body, but thank you, Hashem, for enabling my body to move as a human being. So the great rabbi said that when we say this blessing in Birkot HaShachar, or in the Amidah, or in the Hallelujah, in Shabbat we even say it more, because we have the Musaf, and we also have in the Nishmat and the Motzi Asirim. What does it mean in Motzi Asirim? Releases the hostages. So the rabbis say every time we come across our prayer, this word Matir Asurim, pause for a moment and have kavanah not only to benefit my body as a human being, but also my HaKadosh Baruch Hu releases the hostages, which I will tell you a secret that is not pleasant to say, that a few matters in life, that death is better than being alive. Take my word for it. There are 6 matters in life that death is better than being alive. You know what's on top of the list? Hostages. You don't know when is your next minute, your next day. You are at the mercy of the enemies, and our enemies that we're dealing with now already proved, has a record that for them morality and decency and human rights, these are words of the dictionary. Zehu zeh. No more than that. God forbid, I think it's number 1 or number 2 on the list. Has v'shalom. That's why every day that goes by, it becomes more and more and more dangerous for everyone that is under the hand of our enemies. We don't even know how many. We thought that there were 209 the other day. Now it's 233. What? 262. Okay. Haz v'shalom. It's impossible to have an exact number. Hostages. It's not the raid of Entebbe, 1976. That was a mega miracle for Am Israel. It was an airplane full, but it was secluded, isolated, and by God's divine providence, the firm that built the Uganda airport was an Israeli company by the name of Solel Ubone. So imagine yourself 30 years earlier, from all of the engineering firms of the world, who won the contract? An Israeli company. You know, when the Talmud says, HaKadosh Baruch Hu Magdim Refuah LaMakah, is a common statement by the Hachamim. God provides the salvation before the Makkah, before being hit. They kidnapped. Can you imagine if a stranger country is the builder of this airport? They knew exactly where to target the enemies. And we all know the happy ending. Yes, there was one or two casualties, and even one is too many. But imagine yourself, here, the worst problem is that Gaza has so many tunnels and so many labyrinths and so many, circle, maze. It's like a maze that you don't even know. You attempt to rescue, you may jeopardize them. You don't do nothing, they're going to be killed by hand. So we need to invoke Rahamei Shamaim, that this tragedy, unfortunately, comes to a happy ending. And one of the weapons that we can activate, according to the Gemara, is the enhancement of the Misvah of putting on Tefilin on a regular basis. And you may say, Rabbi, I put on Tefilin every day. Hazaku Baruch. I'm so proud of you. But let me ask you a question now. When was the last time you checked your Tefillin? If you can tell me less than 3.5 years ago, I say to you, Hazaku Baruch. If you're telling me, oh, when I became bar mitzvah, I said, don't wear your Tefillin tomorrow, because it may not be kosher. And then you're saying, Beracha levatala. And you understand one thing, the Misvah of Tefillin is not a Misvah. It's 8 Misvot. The Misvah of Tefillin covers 8 Misvot from the Torah. 4 Misvot for the hand, 4 Misvot for the head. As the Zohar Kadosh explains, what is the power and the beauty of the Misvah of Tefillin? Short answer, bonding with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. We connect to Hashem through the actions of our hands. We connect to Hashem through the emotions of the heart. Hence, the tefillin of the hand must be pointing to the heart to give like a wireless Wi-Fi feelings to the heart of the person, and on the head, on the brain. So if a person has a tefillin from the bar mitzvah that was never checked, who tells you that is kasher? So, one message from today's Gemara class is, check your tefillin. You don't check it. You send it to the sofer. If you need a sofer, talk to me after the class. I give you his name and number. Tell him I need it to have it immediately. I will check the whole thing. The resuot, the straps. If the straps are too narrow, it's not kasher. If the straps are very discolored, it's not kasher. If the bite of the tefillin is not a perfect square, it's not kasher. And this is only me talking from the external essence of the tefillin. Forget about the perashiot. Alright, so let's take advantage of this Gemara of today, and let's, Be'ezat Hashem, have good results, and in the zechut of enhancing of the Misvah of Tefillin, we should have Besurot Tovot. But somebody may say, Rabbi, my Tefillin are the best. I checked them a year ago. I checked them a year ago. Good source, good, reliable sofer. All that is beautiful. So then my next question will be, how do you conduct yourself when you wear the tefillin? Do you talk about business while you wear the tefillin, or you only talk Torah? Don't answer me. Why? Because the moment that we wear the tefillin, it's a moment of kedusha. So if you need to talk about business, you got to do two things. Number one, leave the synagogue. Because to talk business in the synagogue is not the right thing for Kedushat Bet HaKnesset. And if you got to talk about something not related to tefillah, you know what many people do? They take the tefillin, they move it to the side. So you're not fulfilling the Misvah of tefillin if it's not in the proper placement. So I'm only bringing these small things just to understand what does it mean the Kedusha of tefillin. Can you imagine the tefillin is called the crown of the Jewish people? Pe'er. The purification of Am Israel is the concept of the crown. So B'ezrat Hashem, let it be in the zechut of the enhancement of this mitzvah that HaKadosh Baruch Hu really brings the Yeshua. Somebody pointed out to me that the way we wrap the tefillin, the proper way we wrap the tefillin, it looks like a tank. Right? You wrap it to the left, you wrap it to the side. That's how a tank looks. You have the cockpit in the center, and then you have the wheels that are going around. So the other day we learned Tehillim is Tilim, missiles, and today we're learning that Tehillim, it's a tank. Okay, we need to find something with a sisit. You think of something, let me know tomorrow. All right, let's switch the topic for today. The concept of the Misvah of Bikur Holim. The Misvah of Bikur Holim, it's something that is clearly written in the beginning of today's parasha. Right away, the pasuk writes, when HaKadosh Baruch Hu comes to Abraham Avinu on the third day of the Berit Milah, Rashi asks, and it says, why did Hashem came to visit Abraham? Rashi says, Gemara in Sotah writes, Lebaker et ha'holeh. That's simple. Bikur Holim. In America, in the Sephardic tradition, in the Sephardic community, Bikur Holim is not limited to the Misvah of visiting the sick. Is actually the name of a very large institution, correct? That deals with all matters of health, correct? Beautiful. In this Gemara and Mehila, in this week's parasha, and the halachot that we're going to be learning in a few moments, it has to do with the physical action of visiting someone. And we learn it from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Rashi brings a secondary opinion from a different Gemara that says it was the third day of the Berit Milah, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu came and checked on the welfare of Abraham Avinu. Easy to understand. So comes the Rambam and he brings an introduction. What does it mean? There is a statement from the Torah that tells us how one of the ultimate missions of a Jew is basically to follow in the footsteps of Hashem. Rabbi Moshe Cordovero discusses this question in the first chapter of Tomer Devora, and he brings a pasuk which is very similar to the pasuk that I'm going to quote now. One pasuk says, Acharei Hashem Elokechem telechu. In English it means, follow God. The other pasuk says, Be'alachta bidrachav. Follow him in his footsteps. Both pesukim mean exactly the same. I need to imitate God. This is the opening statement of Tomer Deborah. Ha'adam ra'ui lidamot lekono. A person must emulate the Almighty. And right away there is a question. Is this a mitzvah from the Torah, or is it a way of life? Short answer, a way of life. And Rashi, elsewhere, brings different examples. It says, like God is compassionate, we are compassionate. Like we are benevolent, we are He's benevolent, we are benevolent. Like He visits the sick, we visit the sick. Like He buries the dead, we bury the dead. Now, what does it mean? So concerning Moshe, it's easy. The pasuk says, "Vayikbor oto bagay." Moshe Rabbeinu, who buried Moshe? Hashem. Who came to visit Avraham Avinu? Hashem. So from here we learn, "Bihodata lahem et haderech yelechu bah." Teach them the way to walk. Now, which misvah requires walking? Many misvot, but one of them is visiting the sick. You're going to visit someone. And therefore, comes the halacha and it says, a few parameters. When do we go visit? What time of the day? What hour of the day? How old is the sick person? And how old is the visitor? Can an older person visit a young person? Can you go any time of the day you want to go? Let's see what the halacha says. The halacha does bring parameters. It happened to me today. I was today at 8:05. I received an emergency phone call from the hospital. And I said, okay, do you need me to go? Can I go? Say Shema, say Vidui, an ongoing case. I was told, wait, don't come yet. I was told, wait. Halacha will give a difference. How early can you go visit someone? And we'll see how the halacha writes this. Okay, Shulchan Aruch Yorede'ah says halacha very clearly, it's a misvah to visit the sick, the relatives and the friends going immediately, the distant friends wait 3 days, but if he's in critical condition, everybody goes visit the person immediately. Hazaku Baruch, easy halacha. What about the age? So the halacha says, the older person, it goes and visits the young person, or even the same age. What does that mean, the halacha says? You cannot say, oh, I go visit someone because he's older than me, but he's younger than me, maybe I shouldn't go. The halacha says that's not the way of reasoning. You go and you visit, and the more you go, the better, with one condition. Don't become a burden. Can you imagine? One thing that they teach you when you go visit, and especially our wonderful volunteers of Bikur Holim, that they go to the hospitals and they visit people, which regretfully in some cases they have limitations as well. Age, COVID, isolation, bacteria, whatever you want to mention it, but they give you protocols in the training of the Bikur Holim. Number one, don't talk about the condition. Number two, don't give your own opinions. Number three, don't ever say, oh yeah, I had a relative who had the same condition, but didn't make it. You killed the person on the spot. You think that I'm kidding? More than once when I go visit, I step up to the plate, I speak to the family, I must talk to you outside. And you know what I tell them? Stop talking about the condition. No Ainara, you're killing the guy. No Ainara, you're killing the person. So what do? He says, very simple. Wish the person well, read Tehillim, ask if they need anything, and leave. You don't have to be a 3-hour visit. Unless you're a family member. Many times family members take turns, right? Of being with the parents, whatever, overnight, during the day, etc. That's a different story. But as a stranger, go, visit, wish the person well, offer your help. Maybe the relatives are there for 18, 24, 30 hours. Maybe they can use a break. Go home, take a shower, and come back. You can coordinate that. Or bring them something to eat, or call them. I'm going to visit your relative. Can I bring you something? Today with Uber Eats, it's very easy. Kosher food gets delivered everywhere. But before Uber Eats, I remember more than once, stop by the kosher store, pick up a soup, some crackers, bring the person. For them was Tahiyat HaMetim. Comes el Rambam, the Lachan, it says, what should be my physical moves when I go visit someone? Rule number 1, it says, do not sit on the bed of the patient. I'm happy that you're a smart person and your identity is protected. That's why the camera focus only me. Can you imagine if we rotate the system? Like in live feed? You are protected. Thank you. So it says the halakha, the way we just heard from the Hacham, it says, don't sit on the bed. Be in front of the patient. Why? Because the Shekhinah is next to the patient on the head. We learned this from Yaakov Avinu. You know, sometimes, as a rabbi, you know, the family wants you to get close to the patient to say a prayer. That's not a problem. Obviously, make sure not to step on the IV lane, which, by the way, it happened. It happened. I was an eyewitness. I don't know what exactly type of negligence was there, and a person literally was stepping on the IV lane. Apparently, they didn't secure it properly, or the patient moved, and it was on the floor. Thank God somebody realized that on the spot, and Baruch Hashem, nothing major serious happened. But we need to be careful, that's all. Go, pray, bless them well, offer your assistance, whatever you can do to help them out, and move on. Further, how early can I go visit someone, or how late in the day? So the Lacha writes, don't go very early in the morning. Why not? Because maybe the patient had a good night's sleep the night before, and when you go see him, you say, hey, he looks great. When is he leaving the hospital? Or if we go at the end of the day, when maybe the patient had to go through medical testing and exams and is exhausted, and you see him or her, the way they look, and you say, forget about it. There is no hope here, God forbid. Beit Yaesh, Talacha says, you may come and give up hope of requesting for compassion, and then you say, why should I pray if this person's moments or seconds are counted already? So the Lacha says, don't use that strategy in your brain. As I said before, let's clarify. Don't go very early in the morning. You can go from 9 o'clock, let's say. How late? 9 to 6. Unless, God forbid, they ask you to come. As a rabbi, sometimes they ask, please, Rabbi, come. That's a different story. That's why when they have specific visiting hours, I show them my ID, clergy visit, and they open the door. Because they also want to have a certain moments of the day and night to be able to take care of the patient. And sometimes having so many people coming in and out, in and out, in and out, may not deliver that. And even if you cannot go, let's say you happen to be on a different town, you happen to be in a different city, or you have a medical condition that you are limited, you cannot go. So you can still pray and call the family, or call the Hole. The other day I did it. I recorded I couldn't go. I was in up north. I couldn't physically, I wasn't able to make it. I recorded a voice note with a prayer and for the patient. And he was very thankful. Very thankful. Baruch Hashem. So there are ways of how to do it, especially during COVID. During the time of COVID, remember? Nobody was able to go into hospitals, wherever we want. I wish that we go back to COVID compared to what's happening now. I said this last week and I'm going to say it again. Somehow we were exposed to two mega challenges. One was called COVID, and now is this unfortunate moment. I'm not sure which one is worse. I believe this one is worse, by far. Hashem Shomer Israel. May the Almighty keep protecting us. Let me see if there is anything else to add. Okay. One more. It's past 10 o'clock. All right. So I think we'll finish today's class here, because in less than an hour, I have a ladies class in this room as well. So for the iTorah audience, Be'ezat Hashem, we'll be back at around 11 a.m. for the ladies class. Today will be in English. Tomorrow, Be'ezat Hashem, will be in Spanish. So we should have Besurot Tovot for all of Am Yisrael. Amen. Rabbi Hananiah ben Akashia אומר, רצה הקדוש ברוך הוא לזכות את ישראל